Most people think having very few friends means something is wrong with you, that you're antisocial, awkward, difficult to be around. But psychology suggests something very different. In fact, many people who have very small social circles share a set of unusual personality traits, traits that are surprisingly rare, traits that most people don't fully understand. Because the truth is this: not everyone avoids friendships out of loneliness. Some people avoid them because their standards for connection are simply higher. If you've ever felt completely comfortable being alone, if shallow conversations exhaust you, if you'd rather spend time thinking, reflecting, or exploring ideas than attending meaningless social gatherings, there is a chance your personality works very differently from most people around you. And that difference often comes with 5 rare psychological traits. And the last one may explain why some people eventually stop trusting almost everyone. The first trait is a very low tolerance for inauthentic behavior. As people become more aware of human behavior, something interesting begins to happen. Their tolerance for fake interactions drops dramatically. You start noticing things that most people ignore: forced smiles, hidden competition, people pretending to be someone they're not. Your brain becomes highly sensitive to inauthenticity. You notice when someone is performing instead of being genuine. You notice manipulation faster. You pick up on subtle tension in conversations, and suddenly social interactions that once felt normal begin to feel exhausting. Because many social environments operate on an unspoken agreement. People play roles. They say things they don't truly mean. They avoid honesty to keep the atmosphere comfortable. But for someone with strong psychological awareness, this becomes draining. You begin asking yourself a simple question: why should I spend time around people who aren't being real? And once that question appears, something changes. You would rather be alone than sit through conversations that feel artificial. This doesn't mean you dislike people. It means you dislike performative behavior. So instead of collecting acquaintances, you protect your peace. Interestingly, the most surprising trait appears at the end, because one of these psychological patterns explains why some people eventually stop trusting almost everyone. But before we get to that, there's another trait that plays a huge role in why some people naturally keep their circle very small. The second trait is a preference for depth over quantity. Most social circles are built around convenience. Co-workers, classmates, neighbors. People interact because they share the same environment, not because they share deep understanding. But people with deeper thinking patterns often crave something very different. They want meaningful conversations. They want to explore ideas. They want discussions about psychology, philosophy, human behavior, and purpose. Small talk quickly becomes frustrating. How's the weather? What did you do this weekend? These conversations rarely lead anywhere meaningful. You may have experienced this yourself. You're sitting in a group conversation. Everyone is talking, laughing, sharing stories. But inside your mind, something different is happening. You're observing everything: the tone of voices, the pauses in conversation, the small inconsistencies in what people say. And suddenly, the conversation that everyone else seems to enjoy begins to feel strangely exhausting. And for someone who thinks deeply, surface-level dialogue feels empty. It feels like talking without actually connecting. Research even suggests that people who think more analytically often prefer fewer but deeper relationships. Instead of spreading their attention across dozens of friendships, they invest energy in a small number of meaningful connections. And if those connections aren't available, they are comfortable waiting. They don't force relationships that feel shallow. They would rather stay alone until something genuine appears. The third trait is high social sensitivity. Some people have nervous systems that react more intensely to social environments. They process more emotional signals. They notice subtle shifts in tone, facial expressions, and body language. Their brain collects more information during conversations. While others simply enjoy the moment, their mind is analyzing everything. What did that comment mean? Why did their tone change? Was that sarcasm? Did I misunderstand something? This deeper processing requires energy, a lot of energy, which means that after social interactions, their brain needs more recovery time. Psychologists sometimes call this social energy depletion. While extroverts gain energy from being around people, highly sensitive individuals spend energy during social interaction. Every conversation becomes a mental task, observing, processing, analyzing, responding. And after several hours of socializing, your brain begins asking for something simple: silence. Solitude becomes the way your nervous system resets. This is something many people misunderstand. When someone spends a lot of time alone, others often assume they must be lonely. But solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. Loneliness is the pain of not having connection. Solitude is the comfort of being with yourself. For people with deeper internal worlds, solitude can feel incredibly peaceful. It becomes a space where your thoughts can slow down, where your mind can explore ideas without interruption, where you can reconnect with yourself without the noise of social expectations. And once someone experiences that kind of inner calm, something interesting happens. They stop fearing being alone. And when you no longer fear being alone, your standards for relationships naturally become much higher. Another trait that strongly shapes a person's social life is independence. The fourth trait is strong independence. Many people depend heavily on social validation. They seek approval, encouragement, and recognition. But some individuals develop a very different internal structure. Their sense of worth does not depend on constant external feedback. They can entertain themselves, solve problems alone, create meaning inside their own mind. Psychologists sometimes call this low social dependency. Instead of needing a large social circle to feel fulfilled, these individuals build a rich internal world. They read, think, analyze, reflect. Their mind becomes a place they genuinely enjoy spending time in. To others, this can look like distance. People may assume they are withdrawn or detached, but in reality, they simply don't rely on constant external stimulation. They are comfortable with their own thoughts. And that kind of independence naturally makes them selective about who enters their life. Because if you already feel complete on your own, friendship stops being a necessity, it becomes a choice. But the next trait may be the most misunderstood one of all. The fifth trait develops through experience with trust. There is another reason why some people eventually end up with very small social circles. They become more selective over time. When you are younger, friendships often form easily. You meet people through school, work, or shared environments. But as life continues, experience begins filtering relationships. You start noticing which conversations leave you energized and which leave you drained. You notice how people behave when they think nobody's watching. You notice patterns: who keeps their promises, who only appears when they need something, who disappears when things become difficult. Over time, your brain begins making quiet calculations, not in a cynical way, but in a protective way. You stop chasing connections that feel forced. You stop investing energy in people who bring chaos into your life. Psychologists sometimes call this relational filtering. It is the natural process of narrowing your social circle as awareness grows. You begin to realize that not every connection deserves the same level of access to your life. Some people belong in the outer circle, friendly but distant. A few belong closer, trusted, reliable. And sometimes, for a while, that inner circle becomes very small. But small does not mean empty. It means intentional. It means the people who eventually enter your life are there because they truly belong there. Another important thing to understand is that having a small circle often improves the quality of relationships. When someone has dozens of friendships, attention is spread thin, time is limited, energy is limited. But when someone has only a few meaningful relationships, those connections often become much stronger, more honest, more stable, more loyal, because they are built slowly, not out of convenience, but out of genuine compatibility. In psychology, this is sometimes described as high-quality social bonding. Fewer relationships, but deeper ones. And over time, those relationships often become the most important ones in a person's life. When these 5 traits combine, a very specific personality pattern appears. Someone who values authenticity, someone who seeks depth, someone who processes social environments intensely, someone who is comfortable with independence, and someone who protects trust carefully. To many people, this personality can look lonely, but often the reality is something very different. It is selective solitude. choosing peace over chaos, choosing authenticity over convenience, choosing depth over popularity. Because not everyone is meant to be surrounded by large groups of people, some personalities are simply built for a smaller circle. A circle built slowly, carefully, with people who are real. If you recognize yourself in these traits, there is something important to understand. Having few friends does not mean something is wrong with you. It may simply mean your mind works differently. You notice more, you feel more, you think more deeply, and sometimes people with the strongest awareness walk alone for a while. Not because they cannot connect, but because they are waiting for connections that truly matter. And when those connections finally appear, they are often stronger than anything built through convenience. If this video helped you understand something about yourself, consider subscribing. Because psychology often explains the parts of our personality that no one ever taught us about. And sometimes the people who walk alone for a while are simply waiting for the few connections that truly understand them.